All right, children, let's try this again. Today we are getting into adding and subtracting mixed numbers. So yesterday we talked about adding and subtracting fractions. Today we are talking adding and subtracting mixed numbers. Now, if you remember from last chapter, mixed numbers are a type of number that involves a whole number and a fraction put together. So when those two things are put together, you get a mixed number. So when we're adding and subtracting them, we want to follow two steps. Okay, we want to follow two steps in this order to add and subtract our mixed numbers. We want to, first step, deal with fractions. We want to deal with our fractions first, and then step two, deal with whole numbers. Okay, deal with fractions, then we deal with the whole numbers. And I say deal with because I mean either we're adding or subtracting. So whatever we're doing, either adding or subtracting, we're going to deal with our whole number, our fractions first, and our whole numbers second. So if I had the problem that said 3 4/5 plus 4 2/5. All right, I'm going to follow my two steps here. Step one, deal with fractions. 4/5 plus 2/5. Now, what do I need to do in order to be able to add my fractions together? What do I need to have? Yes, I need to have common denominators, and I do. My 5s are the same, so my answer will be a fraction with a denominator of 5. And then I add up my top numbers. 4 plus 2 is 6. So I get 6/5 as an answer, which, since we're dealing with mixed numbers, I want to write this as a mixed number, is 1 1/5. Okay, so 4/5, 2/5. Now I'm dealing with 1 1/5. And now my next step, deal with whole numbers. 3 plus 4, well, that is 7. So now I have 1 1/5 plus 7. Since I have this mixed number and this whole number, I'm going to combine my whole numbers to get 8. And I'm going to keep my fraction to be 8 1/5. All right, so deal with fractions first, then deal with whole numbers. All right, let's try another one. Let's say, this app is being very frustrating for me to work with. I do not like it. All right, let's say I have 1 2/15. 1 2/15 plus 7 1/6. That is a 6. My pen is not working very well, but that is 7 1/6. So, first thing I'm going to do is deal with my fractions. I have 2/15 plus 1/6. Remember, I have to have same denominators. So I want to think about what is a number that 15 and 6 can both go into. I could do my fraction multiplication where I multiply both of these things by 15, both of these things by 6. I'm not going to do that for this one because since we are all great mathematicians, we know that 15 and 6 can both turn into 30. That's an easy one that they can both go into. It's easy multiplication for us. So we're going to say, all right, from 15 to 30, we times by 2. So we do the same thing up top. 2 times 2 is 4. And from 6 to 30, we times by 5. So do the same thing up top. 1 times 5 is 5. And now that we have the same denominator, and numerators on top that can be added together. We add together 4/5 plus, or 4 plus 5, and we get 9/30. So dealing with our fractions, we get 9/30. And since this isn't any kind of mixed number, I don't have to worry about switching it out or doing anything weird. I just keep it as 9/30. Deal with fractions, done. Now I deal with whole numbers. 1 plus 7 is 8, 8 and 9/30. But since we are always simplifying in math, this is really going to become 8 and 3/10. 8 and 3/10. Look at us go. All right. Let's do some subtraction. Let's see how this works with subtraction, because this is where it gets a little bit more confusing, because we're going to be dealing with borrowing. Remember how in subtraction sometimes we have to borrow from the number ahead to make a subtraction problem work? We're going to have to do that with our subtraction here as well. Okay, so let's say I had this problem that was 703 minus 55. Right, this isn't any fraction. This is just reminding of regrouping and borrowing. So when I'm subtracting and I get to 3 minus 5, I can't do 3 minus 5, so I've got to borrow from other numbers. So I can't borrow from 0, so I go to 7, make this a 9, make that a 10, make that a 9, make this a 13, right? I'm borrowing one whole place value and bringing it over. And then I can do my subtraction. I get I get an 8 over here, I get a 4, and that actually shouldn't be a 7. That was my bad. That should be a 6. I get a 6 to equal 648. All right. Same thing goes with fractions. Okay, so here's what I want us to know. Let's write this. This is going to be something we want to put in our notes. Okay, this is called regrouping. This is how we borrow with subtraction. Let's say I have 5 and 1/8. So 5 and 1/8. So 5 is the same thing as 4 plus 1. We all understand that, yes? And then this 1/8 is added in here as well. So 4 plus 1 plus 1/8 would equal 5 and 1/8. Yes, because 4 plus 1 is 5, and then this 1/8 just gives us the 1/8. But what we can think about is 1, this 1 right here, is actually the same thing as 8/8. Right? 1 is just 8/8. And so when I have, when I can take a 1 away from a whole number, when I can separate this 5 into 4 plus 1, I can turn my 1 into 8/8. And now I have 4 plus 8/8 plus 1/8. Okay, and it'll make a little more sense once we do this with real problems, but this does work. So 5 and 1/8 is the same thing as 4 plus 1 plus 1/8. And 4 plus 1 plus 1/8 is the same thing as 4 plus 8/8 plus 1/8, which would give me an answer of 4 and 9/8. And sometimes we might need to have this combination here of mixed number and improper fraction. Sometimes that's the combination we need to have in order for our subtraction to work. All right. Let's see. Let's do a math problem. Let's do some subtraction. Let's say I have 10 7/9 minus 4 and 2/9. First step, deal with fractions. 7/9 minus 2/9 is 5/9. Then deal with my whole numbers. 10 minus 4 is 6. 6 and 5/9. Great. Easy, cheesy, lemon peasy. All right. What if I want to do a problem maybe with some borrowing? Let's say I have 12 and 1/3 minus 4 and 2/3. All right, deal with my fractions first. 1/3 minus 2/3. Wait a second. 1/3 minus 2/3. Like, I can't do that. That doesn't work. Because I can't do 1 minus 2. That's not a math problem. And we're not going to deal with a negative fraction and a positive whole number. So that's not going to work. So I'm going to have to borrow. So I'm going to turn 12 and 1/3 into 11 plus 1 plus 1/3. I'm going to turn 1 into 3/3. So I'm now going to have 11 plus 3/3 plus 1/3, or 11 and 4/3. So I borrowed one whole number and moved it into my fraction to now give me math I can deal with. So now my new math problem is 11 and 4/3 minus 4 and 2/3. And then I subtract. I have now 4/3 minus 2/3, which is 2/3. 11 minus 4, which is 7. And I get an answer of 7 and 2/3. All right. That's a lot. It's a lot of information. The regrouping can get tricky. If you need to rewatch. You'll be practicing this tomorrow. You'll be doing some IXL. If you get stuck, please review the IXL review sheet. That is always helpful to help you make sure that you know all the things you need to do. All right, I will see you all in a little bit. Be good.